Ever sat down to do one thing and suddenly you're doing 12? Welcome to ADHD, where the brain is a Ferrari with bicycle brakes. Now let's start with the stereotypes, because ADHD might just be the most oversimplified diagnosis out there. Some people think ADHD is just being hyper, or being lazy, or being bad at focusing. But ADHD isn't a personality flaw. It's not a lack of discipline, and it's something you just don't grow out of. Now, what ADHD actually is. Now, ADHD is a neurodevelopment condition, meaning the brain is wired differently from the start. Not wrong, not broken, just different. Now, people with ADHD often have maybe one or a few of the following: fast creative thinking, high energy, intense focus when something sparks interest, and difficulty regulating attention, not lack of attention. Now here's the truth. ADHD isn't about paying attention. It's about paying attention to everything at once. Now, for people who don't have ADHD, can you imagine trying to be paying attention to everything? How overwhelming that could be at the start when you don't know what's going on. That must be madness. It must feel, like your head's a Ferrari with bicycle brakes. Now, can you imagine that the world is coming in loud, bright and urgent all the time? Personally, I couldn't even begin to understand how difficult that must be, especially when you don't know what's going on, especially if you're a young child and everything's going at 1,000,000 miles an hour around you. Mind-boggling. Now let's debunk a few things. ADHD is not laziness. It's not a lack of intelligence either. It's not a moral failing. It's nothing to do with parents or upbringing. And it's not something you can fix with just try harder. You know, people with ADHD often work twice as hard just to keep up with expectations that weren't designed for the brains. And that's not a failure, that's resilience. I mean, I have relatives with ADHD, some young and some adults, and they manage it in different ways. As everybody with this condition does, they manage it in different ways. And it's still, even to this day, with all the focus on mental health and stuff like that these days, it's still very, very misunderstood. Now, ADHD can show up in a few different ways. You know, one, inattention, not daydreaming, just struggling to filter out the distractions. Like I said, imagine everything coming at you at 1,000,000 miles at once. It's going to be hard to hard to focus, hard to pay attention. Hyperactivity, it's not always physical. Sometimes it's mental restlessness where your brain can't switch off. Doesn't mean you're just zipping around like the Duracell bunny every day. It's also your brain could be doing that 1,000,000 miles an hour all day. It must be tiring. It must be mentally draining. Impulsivity, not recklessness, but acting before the brain hits pause. Yeah, I can see that. Moving before the brain says, whoa, slow down, don't do that. You've done it already. Yeah. Also must be very frustrating sometimes. And here's something important. ADHD looks different in adults than it does in kids. And it's different in women than it is in men. And it's different in every single person who lives with it. There is no one ADHD. It manifests itself in different ways, in different people at different times in life. Now, living with ADHD is something I don't know anything about, but I know people do, and let's talk about the people that thrive, because people with ADHD absolutely can. Not by forcing themselves into neurotypical modes, but by building a life that works with their brain, not against it. You know, there's a few strategies out there that people often find helpful. Again, I've spoke to people with ADHD and some of these things that they gave me, and I'm going to share with you. You know, body doubling, working alongside someone to stay anchored. So if you live with ADHD and you find that some person who's always well grounded and calm, all that, maybe try work with them. It may help. Timers and external structures, not to control the day, but to create rhythm. So doing things at a certain time of day, sort of like a daily planner. You know, breaking down tasks into dopamine friendly chunks. Small wins equals momentum. So it might be a project at school, at work, or just in a daily life. It might be something you're doing at home. Break it down into little bits. You know, just imagine it, you're not going to eat, you know, a massive pizza just by taking one bite. You break it down into slices. Do the same thing with the tasks. You know, little bits, little wins, momentum. Definitely keep that one in mind. Movement breaks, because the brain focuses better when the body isn't trapped. So if you are working, like say, on a computer or playing a game or doing something like that, maybe get up and walk around take a 5-10 minute break, walk around. It may help with that. Now, visual reminders, also maybe another good thing to have about. A friend of mine does. He has visual reminders all over his place. So yeah, it works for him. It may work for you. So out of sight often means out of mind. So bring the things that you need to do into view. I'm not saying put sticky notes or post-it notes right around your house for everything, but the things that are important, maybe make sure they're visual to you. And supportive environments, probably the biggest one for me personally. Surround yourself with people who understand ADHD, because that can make a massive difference to a person, and to feel supported living with this condition obviously feels massive, and good to know that people understand that condition. Now remember, ADHD isn't about fixing yourself, it's about understanding yourself. So sometimes you've got to look within, like, this is me, this is who I am, I'm going to have to live with it, and so is everybody else. So it's about also not just society making people aware of what ADHD is that the people living with ADHD should help make people understand how ADHD is for them personally. Like I said, not just one ADHD, it's not a one size fits all diagnosis, it's different in everyone. So when someone told me ADHD didn't ruin my life, misunderstanding it did. Yeah, that hit me hard, because it was their lesson that they learnt, that they misunderstood the condition until they got the information, and that was probably their light bulb moment. Okay, this is me, this is how I can live with it, and I've been doing it wrong for a long time maybe. And sometimes we all need that light bulb moment. And it also hit me in other ways, because many people grow up thinking that they're too much or too messy or not enough even, when really they just need a different kind of support. People with ADHD aren't scattered, they're wired for momentum. So if you're living with ADHD, hear this: you're not broken, you're not lazy, you're not failing. Your brain just works different, and that difference comes with strengths the world desperately needs. This is Diagnosis Debunked, and you, exactly how you are, belong here.